Hey folks, Thomas here. Welcome back to Mears Lab. I could use your help in today's episode. I've run into an issue with this item here that I've never seen before, and I think I could use a little bit of input from the community on this one. So today we're looking at this Maestro sound system for woodwinds. This is a really old analog synthesizer, and it's made for clarinets and saxophones and all kinds of woodwind instruments. But you can also plug your guitar and pretty much anything else into this, and it produces all kinds of really nice, warm, syrupy, beautiful analog tones. This one has a few issues, which we'll get into a little bit later in the video. This is how the unit works, and you'll have to forgive me. I've already taken it apart, so it's kind of in a bunch of pieces here. But okay, over here there's an input, and it's only a little 1/8 of an inch, which is 3.5 millimeter for you metric folks. Yeah, it's only a small little mini jack over here, which is sort of annoying. But the reason why they did that is because this unit is actually designed to work with a little pickup that will go inside of your instrument. It's like a little, I think it's a little piezo. I don't have it, unfortunately, but it's a little piezo pickup. And apparently what you would do is you'd drill a little hole in the neck of your instrument, and then you'd install this pickup inside of your instrument. And that way you'd get a really good, strong signal. And also, I think a really important reason for that is you would get isolation from the other instruments, because the input here, it is and it isn't sensitive, you know? It's very sensitive to any sort of noise. Once it can detect that noise in its threshold, you know, it's going to try and lock a note onto it. So if it's accidentally hearing, say, like a guitar, you know, in the little mic, say, imagine the microphone's installed in the neck of your saxophone, but it can distantly hear the guitar or the drums or the piano playing or some other instrument, then it's going to try and lock to that instead of the sound of your saxophone. So I think a reason why they want to install the pickup inside the neck of the instrument is to reduce the likelihood of that happening, because the pickup is so much closer to the sound source than anything else that could interfere with it. Or at least that's what I've sort of figured, at least, you know. I'm not a woodwind player, and I don't have the pickup that's supposed to come with it here, but I did experiment by plugging my guitar into it. And I'll note I was using a Stratocaster type guitar with a humbucking pickup in it, and when I plug my guitar directly into it, I was barely able to get any signal at all. I had to go through a preamp to raise the sound level of my guitar, the signal level up to line level, and then I was able to get it to work fine. However, I'll note that, say, if I took my fingers off the strings, you know, sometimes when you do that with some guitars, you get just a little bit of hum, just a little bit of 60 cycle hum, because you're not grounding the strings through your body. And this unit was so sensitive at that point that it was tracking to the sound of that 60 cycle hum, and it was interfering with me playing with the instrument. And I found it a little bit tricky to get it to just the right sweet spot where it wasn't, you know, triggering on the hum, and also triggering on my notes and being sensitive enough to when I played the guitar. But you know, that's because the unit's not designed for working with the guitar. It's designed for working with saxophones or clarinets, you know. So I have a feeling that if I were to use the original pickup with it, it probably wouldn't have that issue. But anyhow, I just thought I would discuss that a little bit. Yeah, so let's look into the controls here. It has like a sensitivity knob over here, and I took all the knobs off of it, but they're really beautiful. They're these really nice metal knobs here. You can turn that, and you can also, this is a push-pull switch, so you can change the input sensitivity, and when you pull it out, it makes it a lot less sensitive. And I think that the reason why is because the volume of a saxophone compared to a clarinet is a lot louder, so I think that so you wouldn't overload the unit, or if you're having issues with the notes tracking properly, I think that you would pull the switch out, and then maybe it would work a little bit better for some louder instruments. I think that's supposed to be the idea. So here's the tone switches right here. Pretty self-explanatory. You know, there's fuzz tone, cello, tuba, bass sax, bass clarinet, bassoon, English horn, oboe d'amore, muted horn, and natural amp. And then over here is this contra setting, and I'm not entirely sure, but I think that this is sort of like the octave here. I think that this sort of changes the octave that the note plays in. Yeah, and once again, this is an analog synthesizer, so these don't sound very realistic, if you will, but they do sound sort of futuristic, and they sound really warm and awesome. I'm not going to plug this unit into this video. There's lots of other videos out there where you can hear what these units sound like, and apparently Frank Zappa has used these before as well too, so I think that there's some recordings so you can hear what these sound like on some of his records. Yeah, because it's in pieces right now, I can't really plug it in. I wanted to discuss the issue that we're having, and by the way, while we're on that note, let's get into that now, because you know it's pretty self-explanatory up here. There's just volume and tone knobs, and there's a tremolo setting here for the various settings here. There's just outputs there. All right, we'll take the top of the case off here. I've got all the parts of it here. They're just kind of beside the bench. I actually got the foot switch for it and the case for it here, and there's a schematic here for it as well too. So this is what it looks like once you've got the top of the case off. And I'm going to flip this over, and I just got to hold the circuit boards up on here, but be careful, really careful, because they're just sort of loose here. And you're going to see what the issue is here pretty well, maybe not right away, but pretty soon. Okay, let's turn it around a little bit here now too. Okay. Okay, so first, before I guess we discuss the issue, this is something I kind of want to do. Is I want to, after discussing with the owner, and we decided that this will be okay to swap out the 1/8 of an inch jack here and change that to a nice 1/4 inch jack instead, to make it just a lot more versatile and easier to use, and make it a stronger, more robust connection. That's going to involve having to widen the hole a little bit, and I'm not a big fan of modifying chassis. I'm really not a big fan of that, but I think that in this case, that's going to be okay. I think that most people would be totally fine with that. And, you know, I think that it's more common to use a 1/4 inch jack than an 1/8 of an inch jack, especially in a unit like this, which is a professional piece of gear, which would generally be used in studios or in like live environments. And it was probably pretty expensive back in the day as well too, you know, so you don't want to muck around with these little things. But I could see if you were using it with like a little mouthpiece sort of microphone, it's not, or a pickup, it's not a very big unit, and the wire wouldn't be very big either, so you probably wouldn't want a big heavy 1/4 inch plug on the end of that. So I could sort of understand that too. But anyhow, I think we're going to update that to a 1/4 inch. And while we're on that note, just regular sort of preventative maintenance, it'd probably be a good idea to disconnect the filter capacitor right here. There's 2 caps in there. There's a 1500 microfarad at 30 volts and a 500 microfarad at 25 volts. And I won't remove this because it looks really nice, you know, and I like to try and keep things as original as possible. I'll just disconnect the terminals from the inside here. It's probably kind of hard to see that with the camera, but down in there, I'll just disconnect the terminals, and I'll install some brand new, really nice, high quality capacitors down in there. There's plenty of room. And then that way we'll know that the power supply is working really nice, and we'll test the voltages there, make sure everything's good there too. And then we'll just do like a general cleanup here and check and make sure the correct fuse is in it and that sort of stuff. Okay, now beyond that, that's like sort of the general stuff I'm going to do here, and of course check out the resistors, and then I'd like to test the capacitors in it, and a couple of those, and just make sure that they're all doing okay. You know, we'll just open it up and test a few of the caps, make sure that they're not shorted or open. If they're all okay, then I think that we'll just move on. Oh yeah, actually, yeah, have a look at this. You can see the date there? 3rd of August, 1967, Chicago Music Instrument Company. Neat, eh? Okay, so here is the issue here, and this is what I could use some help with. Okay, so let's flip that over, and hopefully you can see that okay. And so this board right here, this is what we're looking at. This is sort of like the heart and soul of the Maestro unit here. And it is comprised of these 5 components right here. And These are inductors. These are these LRAD inductors. I'm wondering if anybody out there has any experience with these LRAD inductors, because I did some, like, I don't have a lot of experience with them, and I've done some research online, and I can't really find much information on these. And so what I would like to know is, are they fine to leave as is? Are they going to sound fine just like they are? I removed this one, and I tested it with my multimeter, and it tested, I think, like 14.9 ohms. So it had a nice low ohms reading. So it's not shorted, and it's not open. And I believe, I haven't tested all of them, but, you know, I feel like they're probably all just fine. I don't think that they're open or shorted, but I wonder, like, is the fact that it's not potted anymore, that all the tar's melted out of it, is that an issue? And here's what might have caused it. Is underneath where this one is here, I can see that there are some, looks like there's some caps and some resistors down there, and they must have, you know, they're not high wattage or anything like that, but they must have gotten warm down there or something. That's all I can think of, because that's right underneath where this one would have melted, or maybe this cap got warm. But you know, I don't know. I doubt that these would have gotten all that warm, you know, but maybe, who knows. But maybe these parts got a bit warm. They don't look like they're black or anything's charred or anything down there, you know, it looks just fine. But maybe they got warm and melted all this tar, or maybe it was in storage somewhere and there was a sunbeam on the back of the case and it melted the tar and, you know, just hit it right there or something. I don't really know, you know. But anyways, it concerns me. And, you know, I'm thinking, well, maybe I could just replace these with some modern ones. Like maybe I could contact Hammond and see, for example, and just see if they have any modern replacements, or maybe they could make some custom inductors for it. But I have a feeling like that's going to change the very heart and soul of this unit and what it sounds like. And I don't want to interfere with its sort of mojo, if you will, but I do understand that at this point, you know, its mojo is kind of hanging on by a thread here already, you know. So I'm just sort of wondering, what do you folks think out there? Does anybody have any experience with this? Has anybody used these LRAD inductors? Has anybody replaced them before? Do you have any ideas on what a suitable replacement would be? You know, do you have any thoughts that you can leave with me in the comment section? Yeah, please let me know. I would love to hear anything that anybody has to say about these LRAD inductors in this Maestro synthesizer unit here. I'm stumped right now, so and when I get stumped, I don't like to make any rash moves or rush in or anything like that. I like to just sort of take my time. So here's what I'm going to do right now with the unit. I've discussed this with the owner, and so all we're going to do is we're just going to seal it back up. We're going to change the input here to the 1/4 inch, because the unit does make sound right now. But I'm going to leave it up to the discretion of the owner whether he uses it or not. You know, I probably wouldn't recommend going out to gigs with it or taking it into the studio. But I think, you know, for turning it on for a couple of minutes here or there and tinkering around at home, I think it's just sort of fine for that sort of a thing. Until I can get a better idea of what to do with those inductors. Because at that point, then we'll get the Maestro unit back over here into the lab, and then we'll go really deep down the rabbit hole and we'll do a full restoration on it, and we'll swap out all the caps and we'll change everything. I don't want to dive in too quickly. This is a pretty special unit, you know, these are pretty rare, and this one's in really, really nice physical condition. It's just unfortunate that those inductors are bad on it, but you know, who knows, maybe they're not as bad as I think that they are. And hopefully there's some folks out there that can share their knowledge with us and let me know what their thoughts are on this unit and maybe what the best way to move forward with it is. You know what? I think that I'll leave it right there for today's video, folks. I really appreciate you all tuning in. And if you enjoyed the video, then don't forget to hit the like button, and you can subscribe for more as well, too. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.